Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. All right. Next item would be any public comment, if there is any. I don't know if there's any questions. Up. If not, that'll be that. The first item is the meeting minutes of July 8th, 2020.
Mr. Vice Chair, I move to approve the minutes of 7/8/20 as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discrepancies, corrections, additions, deletions? I have one under item J. The second line, advisory committee member, that there was a joint policy. I believe it should be transfer policy. And that was the only thing that I saw.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
should we specify end of year transfer or just transfer? It's up to you. I mean,
I don't recall. Yes, we could put end of year transfer policy, just so there won't be any confusion.
Okay, I'll make that change.
Thank you. If there's anything else? All right, on the motion and second to accept the minutes for July 8th, 2020, Terry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and I vote yes. No executive session minutes for this evening. The next item is any new employees, Adam?
Mr. Chairman, yes, we have 3 new positions, filling of positions with Cindy Shea, our senior services coordinator, Rick Howard, assistant accountant, and a new officer sworn in, Zach Hastings. Because of the officer just being sworn in and the others, we're planning on having them appear for the next Board of Selectmen meeting.
All right, I think we did Cindy Shea the last meeting, I thought.
Was it Cindy Shea or Jessica Camper? Oh, no, it was both, I believe.
We did Cindy.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's just a police officer.
I see Hannah Bennett on tonight. I'm not sure if she was going to be introduced. She's fairly new.
She
Sean,
just
do you
works
know?
for Templeton Community Television. She's here to relieve me if I need
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, she's part of TCTV and she's been on there a bit, I think.
So that's all I have for new employees.
Who is it, Adam? We don't have it on our paper. Who is it?
We have Rick Howard, assistant accountant,
Oh,
And
right. I
Zach-
don't know.
and Zach Hastings as a new officer that was sworn in. And I sent an email to the police chief, and the new officer will be at our next Board of Selectmen meeting.
Okay.
So we don't have to appoint him tonight, or do we have to make a motion on these two?
There's no motion needed, no.
Okay.
All right, the next item on the agenda are appointments to committees. The first one is Cultural Council, Patricia Gale, for a 3-year appointment that would expire 6/30/2023. We have Conservation Commission, Amanda Rasmussen. I hope I got that name right. I see her listed on the screen for a 3-year term to expire June 30th, 2023. And Mr. Scott Dill wishes to return to the Recreation Commission for a 1-year appointment that would expire June 30th, 2021. I think after he left, shortly after he left, the vice chair who had been on the Rec Commission for about 10 years. And at the time, I think Scott wasn't sure whether he could serve as cemetery commissioner elected and the rec. I believe he got that straightened out in the okay through ethics. So he's looking to go back on there so we can keep that committee fairly full and consistent. So unless anyone has any issues, any questions, I would entertain a motion for those appointments as I read them.
I move to appoint Pat Gale to the Cultural Council to a term expiring on 6/30/23. Amanda Rasmussen to Conservation Commission to a term expiring on 6/30/23, Greg. And Scott Dill to the Recreation Commission to a term expiring on 6/30/2021.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I see Amanda, do you want to say anything, Amanda?
No, I have nothing to say, unless you guys
Okay.
have questions.
All righty. So we have a motion and a second. No other discussion, no other questions. Terry,
Yes,
Tim,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
welcome aboard, Amanda. Thanks for stepping up, and
Thank
welcome
you.
to Pat. And I'm glad Scott's worked out to do both.
We look forward to seeing you do some great things for the town.
All right. Next item up is the fourth quarter reports. First one will be Development Services.
So Lori, that's you, and
It's
can
me,
proceed.
yes. Can you hear me?
Can hear you
I do, Ms.
perfectly.
Reed, I do. Good evening to you.
Okay. With this report, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time, it is not as concise as my previous reports have been. However, it was quite 3 months. And with COVID being the main focus of the last 3 months, I wanted to thank everybody, especially our residents, for the work that they've been doing to tamp things down and help flatten the curve, as they say. As you know, Baldwinville Nursing Home was hit pretty hard, and I just want to put a plug out there for them that they were doing what they needed to do, and it was unfortunate. Their constant communication with the state and with our office was really excellent. Our emergency dispensing site turned out to be a real plus for supplies and keeping people in masks and hand sanitizer, and those supplies have been replenished, and we're going to continue to replenish them and circle them out so that first in, first out. Through MPHN, we were able to get a grant in order to pay our public health nurses to do our contact tracing for us, which really freed up a lot of people from doing that kind of work. So that was pretty good. We continue to address complaints as they come in on a case-by-case basis. And I'm not sure if you want me to stop in between each subject and if you have questions.
That might be good.
Do you have any questions on the past 3 months on COVID?
Just congratulations and thank you so much. That was impressive work. I really, my hat's off to you. It wasn't easy.
Well, we did it as a group, and we need to keep moving forward and keep our people up to date. There's changes all the time. The governor is, you know, on the edge. So I think
Understood.
yeah, I think the most remarkable part about the last 3 months, the last quarter, is the activity we had in the building department and our inspectors. I think everybody got to be at home and saw the things they needed to do and went for it. As you probably saw, we issued 79 permits just in the fourth quarter alone, and it appears from the total, people did approximately $4 million worth of work to their homes and pools and roofs and all sorts of things. The inspectors did a great job utilizing virtual inspections and in-person inspections. We did do we would ask questions prior to them going to the inspections to make sure everybody was safe. Plumbing and gas were just as busy due to the number of buildings. There were 9 new residential houses built in the last quarter. With that, zoning board was not very active, neither was Ag Commission. They didn't have anything that they needed to have meetings about. Planning Commission, they had a meeting on June 23rd, and it was for 2 building lots. They were South Main Street, Royalston Road. Conservation, very busy, 19 site walks, and they also issued a cease and desist for some wetlands issues on Patriots Road. It's been busy. And Board of Health, we've had a couple of meetings to discuss COVID-related issues. We're still approving septic systems, doing inspections. The one thing that I would say I need to catch up on relatively soon is the regular food inspection. But other than that, it's been go, go, go.
I enjoyed seeing the Ag Commission, the 3 from Mr. Pease, Carrie Novak, and Matt Leclerc at the Board of Health meeting. I think that was informative to me. It got me thinking, because I'm still concerned about Norcross Hill and the fields up there, and it's led me down it's set a trajectory in my life to read about water, get an overview of water in the United States and how it applies to our local level, and learn about wells that aren't protected. And I was, there's no regulations in the country for protecting wells. And I was wondering if, at some point I'd probably send you an email. I have been avoiding it because I know how busy you are, to figure out how many wells we have in our villages, and because the water situation, it takes 50 years to change the water situation. And that's just as unprecedented as COVID.
Yeah, we can get you that information, and I don't want you to think that that's a dead subject, Norcross Hill. I'm working with Carrie Novak. I would like to see a presentation done by the, entities involved, providing information, right. I thought David Pease's idea of using the UMass extension group.
Yeah, I
went out
use
to the
that.
site. Yeah, it's a great idea, and I think it's something that we should do.
I appreciate it because I do have lots of questions. I reached out to the water department. I might talk about this more at the end of the meeting, but I also got a message if I have the water report, and then I noticed that there was a swap report you could download, and I had forgot to mention it on July 8th, that I read this thoroughly and looked at that swap report, seeing that those wells in Baldwinville are high risk around zone 1 because there's no clay barrier. So I downloaded the full swap report online and, from online, and started reading it and reached out to a few people and have had some conversations to get a better grasp
Great.
of things.
Great.
I don't want to hijack the meeting.
Do you have anything else, Lori? Or-
That's it.
That's it? All righty. Thank you very much. Stay safe out there and
Thank you, and enjoy your new
too.
grandchild. Enjoy your new
Oh, thank you very
grandchild.
much. Thank you.
take care.
You
Thanks,
too.
Laurie.
All right. Where did she go? The next up is the community services with Jackie Prime.
Everybody.
Hi, Jackie.
This quarter, like my colleagues, was pretty much consumed with COVID. Despite the library being closed to the public, we had a couple of initiatives to stay connected with our patrons. Virtual story time. We tried to disperse some information about downloading ebooks on the CW Mars system. We had a big bin of jigsaw puzzles on our porch for people to come and take, and a lot of people did, so that was good. The staff was able to attend a bunch of webinars and just do some general organizing inside the library. So that was the library side of things. The senior center was also closed during this quarter. However, a number of things remained in place there to stay connected to our seniors and other people in our town. Meals on Wheels continued uninterrupted despite the fact that Gamma shut down their transportation. We were able to bring our 2 drivers back, and we're thankful for them and their willingness to make sure this program continued. Our Shine volunteer, Gail, continued to hold phone appointments with people regarding insurance and Medicare. The CERT team provided wellness calls every Wednesday to people we identified as potentially at risk. The community garden came together in a blink of an eye with about 10 volunteers who cleaned out those beds, planted vegetables, and 1 volunteer who's been watering faithfully. And we're reaping some great produce every week for the food pantry as a result of that. The newsletter from the senior center continued in an electronic abbreviated format. And the food pantry, which between myself, Sheila Pelletier, and probably about 24 other volunteers, we organized it and have staffed it about 3 times the number of hours that it was previously open. Donations have poured in with some generosity from not only individuals, but organizations locally. I'm still continuing to deliver food to an average of 2 people a week who aren't able to get to the pantry. In speaking with Carter, I did sort of raise a concern that at least 15 hours of my time every week is spent on food pantry matters. And that I think, as he pointed out a year or so ago, it's definitely in our best interest to examine turning the operations of that over to a nonprofit or faith-based organization. But in the meantime, it served a great need in the last 5 months. And I'm thankful for the people that helped me. Sheila, my library staff. I literally have a list of 25 names, and I definitely want to acknowledge them publicly at some point, because they just kept coming back to help, and we couldn't have done it without all that help. No way. So so that's about it for the library and the senior center. If you have any questions.
Is there a mountain of paperwork to set up the faith-based for the food pantry to switch it over?
I don't believe it's a mountain. I know Carter has talked to the attorney about drawing up a lease agreement and it may be requesting a business plan from their end. But he kind of reassured me a few weeks ago that he thought by October we should be able to successfully transition the operation to another group. So I think that's something the Board of Selectmen need definitely to vote on and be involved in. But I really think it's for this pantry to continue at the level that it's been and allow me to step back and do all the things that I need to do. I think it's the best way forward. So
I'm glad to see some light at the end of that tunnel. Whew.
yeah.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, because I know how many hours of your own and even your personal time involved.
Thank you.
Jackie, I do have a question on the library.
Yep.
I received an email last week reminding me it's time to renew my library card. What is that process at this point?
You can just give us a call and we can do that over the phone.
Perfect.
It's just a couple of clicks and you'll be good for another 4 years, I think.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, Jackie, regarding the food pantry and the hours and organization that you've done, back when it first started and over the last few years, I've lost track of how many, and the comparison where it's at, the last time I was down there, it's a big change. It was a lot of effort, a big increase in use, need. I am aware that there was one group that had been interested in taking over. I hope they're still interested, and that is definitely something, as you say, that the Board of Selectmen we should push that forward. I think it will help in a lot of ways and open up some avenues to obtain food through other larger food pantries that are the nonprofit, which I think it's an easier transition from a nonprofit to a nonprofit, and free you up, because I know the amount of time that you're spending down there, which when things open back up, you're going to get even busier.
Yeah.
So that is definitely something that we should be looking into, working on, and making happen.
Thank you.
But thank you for that. I too will be calling you about a library card. I have some research stuff I want to access.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
Yay.
And is that it for your part, Jackie?
That's it for me. I'll have to present TCTV and Cultural Council after Sheila goes, because they weren't able to make it tonight.
All righty. Okay. So next up will be the Veterans Agent, Sheila Pelletier, and I see her waiting in the wings. So Sheila.
All right.
Hi,
Thanks for
Sheila.
having me. Hi, thanks for having me here tonight. I have a little longer list than I normally do. It was not status quo for me as usual. During the COVID 19, the DVS stepped up and they loosened up the requirements to qualify for Chapter 115, just meaning that I was to use the broadest concept of the law possible to get people the help that they needed. I also attended weekly VSO calls with the DVS and Secretary of Veterans Services. They continue today. During this time, I think it freed up a lot of veterans to file claims and to get into VA healthcare. And so those claims were uptick. A normal claim can take me 3 to 4 hours to complete with the veteran, and that's if they have all their information with them. So that took up a lot of my time. I worked with a veteran in Orange to address veteran food insecurities during COVID-19. We ended up teaming up with the Massachusetts Military Support Foundation and the Baldwinville American Legion to deliver food for vet boxes every Saturday since April, delivering over 400 boxes, produce, milk, eggs, and bread. This equals over 9,600 meals we provided, plus the extras that we were able to give our veterans of the milk, eggs, bread, and an extra bag of goodies, including Lent chocolates and chocolate covered donuts. We've had plenty of sponsors who have donated to this endeavor to allow us to help all veterans from this area. We also partner with the American Legion and sent out a 2-page information sheet to over 700 veterans in Templeton and Phillipston and some other neighboring veterans to let them know what kind of access they have to veteran benefits, local, state, and federal, including nonprofits. We did the outreach to Chapter 115 participants, doing health and welfare checks at their homes while delivering food baskets to ensure that they were taken care of and that their needs were being met in April and May. I coordinated and scripted the Memorial Day virtual ceremony and worked with the TCTV to have that broadcasted. The TCTV went above and beyond and actually went back and did a full program from previous Memorial Days as well. I coordinated again with American Legion, and we placed over 900 flags on veterans' grave sites for Memorial Day. And myself and Michael Uverard maintained them until after Memorial Day, making sure that our 4 cemeteries maintained flags at the same level, and that all veterans were honored with a flag at their gravesite. On Gold Star Day, which was right before Memorial Day, I did place lights on a war memorial in each of the villages and lit them with the gold light. I worked with Quabbin Mediation out of Orange to develop an online training program for veterans mediation, as well as working to get this program into the National Guard. I developed preliminary plans for the park at Otter River and obtained fire and police chief's approval before we proceeded, and presented to a board of selectmen a very rough draft of what we have planned for the park in Otter River. I worked with Jackie Prime and others to clean up, coordinate, and run the food pantry at the beginning in April and May. I also worked in the senior center and helped Jackie with the network, set up computers so that they could print, and people were able to sign on, and connected to the main storage location at the senior center. During my spare time, I also helped Jackie at the senior center to help organize the offices and some of the space up on the top floor. I continued to have appointments with veterans throughout the pandemic, whether that was in my office with mask and practicing all COVID-19 precautions, as well as outdoors or anywhere else that my veterans would feel safe in order to fill out forms, get them the services they need, help them with any funerals or Chapter 115 benefits. In May, I was appointed as the intelligence officer at the ICS team, and we met every week until June, and now it's every other week. And my job there was to inform the team on current trends, issues, and recommendations on how to proceed with COVID-19. I received a signature pad for the VetraSpec system, and it was set that up, and that helped me move veterans through the system quicker for filing VA claims. I partnered with the Veteran Center in Worcester to get more information out to our veterans, and he provided assistance with me for Food for Vets, found me additional resources, and also kept me abreast on what the veteran centers were doing. So if I had any veterans that needed any therapy or assistance through them, how to get hold of them. And the last thing I did was partner with Project New Hope in Worcester, who provides many services to our veterans. And they provided supplement of food that we handed out on Saturdays. And they provided another source of assistance to our veterans in need. So I developed better relationships with the Veteran Center, Quabbin Mediation, Project New Hope, Massachusetts Military Support Foundation. And I also had a meeting with, I didn't list it, but I had a meeting scheduled with Ann Govey and Susanna Whips to talk about a more permanent location for a food pantry in the north central area of Massachusetts. But due to COVID-19, I was not able to meet with them personally. That's all I have to report. Does anybody have questions?
Congratulations on your appointment. All I can say is, wow, between you and Jackie, I'm just so full, so proud of our community. And your report just, it's overwhelming. I feel so, I'm just overwhelmed with joy. I'm just so grateful, you know, and I know Jackie, she doesn't say much, but she spends a lot of time shopping for that food pantry out in the grocery stores too, and among other things. And as a member of Templeton, you know, just as a citizen and a select board member, I'm grateful, very humbled and very grateful for all that you do.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything for Sheila? All right, then, thank you, Sheila. I appreciate, as a veteran, I appreciate all the work that you've put in, especially the food coordination and the benefit stuff. That stuff that can just, it's never ending improvement for the word to get out, the services, the benefits, the so many changes, and keeping an eye on things that they sometimes try to take from us. So that's very much appreciated. And by the way, keep Mike busy. Do you have anything? Do you have anything else, Sheila?
No, I don't.
All right. Thank you very much, Sheila.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Jackie, are you doing TC?
Yes.
All righty.
Steve couldn't be here tonight, but like the rest of the community services team, he had a very busy quarter. Most of his operations focused around COVID. Regular production had to be suspended to substitute the provision of reliable information on an ongoing basis and cover many meetings, both live streamed and on the Zoom platform. In addition to the town meeting of annual town meeting in Templeton and Phillipston, he wanted to make sure to mention Sean and Hannah and all of their hard work in this quarter to meet the need for the information and the technology that TCTV had to come up to speed on very quickly. He had over TCTV's YouTube channel had 15.7 thousand views in this quarter, which is amazing. And he tried to maintain the community focus as well as the COVID information source, running emergency notices, which change daily or sometimes multiple times a day. And in the midst of all that, he purchased a new server, and that was installed, and he and Sean and Hannah have had quite a bit of training on that. So I can't say enough about Steve and his team, Hannah and Sean. They've really stepped up with the technology needed for all these meetings and just about anything that was asked of them. So that's his report. I probably can't answer any questions, but I'm sure if you have any, Steve would be happy to help you out.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Hannah. And it was no small potatoes getting that server in time for the annual town meeting because it had just come in and they weren't promised, they didn't say anything, but it was close and they did it. So thank you guys.
Yeah. And then Lisa couldn't be here from the Cultural Council, but I have her report here. Cultural Council met several times via Zoom this quarter, and as you can imagine, they had a lot of work with rescheduling and in many cases eventually canceling some programs that they had funded, which is really a shame. It's been really devastating for a lot of people, obviously, but many of these performers, that's their income. They rely on doing a program at the library or wherever, and for them to have to cancel those programs is really hard. I know that they are working, the council's working to carry those funds over so that hopefully down the road, those programs can take place and be funded. But as far as this quarter, most of the Templeton Cultural Council funded programs were canceled, and they're just hopeful for more events in the future. I know they just canceled their Lucy Stone Tea, which was supposed to take place this weekend, I think, because of the governor's order. So it's really a shame, but they're trying to remain hopeful for, next year.
Did I just hear the craft fair was canceled too?
Well, I can't say.
Yeah, I think it was. Yep.
Somebody, I had asked a crafter today. They said they said it was canceled, but I hadn't heard yet. So
as far as I know, it was, because that's the weekend we always have our book sale, and I heard a couple of weeks ago it wasn't going to take place. So
that's huge for the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all the Cultural Council had to report. I didn't get an official report from Scott Dill and Rec. I know, there haven't been any sports this quarter. I would like to mention his Templeton Tough fundraiser that Jeff cooked up a great idea for, and that raised a lot of money for the food pantry. So I know Scott's always working behind the scenes, so we're thankful for that. That's all I have.
All righty. And on that thing, that was just, I just threw an idea out there. Scott Dill took it and pretty much ran with it. I'm glad it raised the money it did. Some people, I think they missed it or weren't aware of it. And I've seen some talk on social media that they might kick off a second edition of it to try to raise some more money for various things, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Again, it was Scott, and it's a little bit of work and stuff, but it's worth it in these times.
Yeah.
So that is it for you, Jackie.
Yes.
If anyone has any questions for Jackie on anything?
Nope, they've been very busy, and we thank them.
Thank you.
All righty then. Thank you, Jackie,
All right, thanks.
and take care.
You too.
Night.
Night.
The next up would be the finance report. We'll start with the accountant, Kelly. I see you're waiting in the wings, so take it away.
Okay, so the fourth quarter for my office was very challenging. Nicole had resigned, and we hired Rick Howard to be the replacement. We also had the open enrollment process for the benefits, and with training Rick and getting him up to speed on the everything, plus the open enrollment, that was extremely challenging, but we did it. In June, we also started preparing for the biweekly transition for payroll in July, which is going well. And then for my office being closed for the fourth quarter because of COVID, there really wasn't much of an effect on us because most of our interaction is with staff. So we've kind of, we haven't really had any issues with that, except for new hires, but we've done a social distancing and we have a plan for when they come in, and so that's worked well. Then on the next part of the report, you'll see where we have the expenditures and balance things I just wanted to bring to your attention. Right now, our stabilization has $714,000 in it, which is really good. The capital has 175. OPEB is 166. So those main funds that we have for the town have pretty good balances in. OPEB, we still have, a long way to go, but at least it's something compared to a few years ago when we had nothing. The Chapter 90, you'll see an outstanding balance of 46,000, but all of the requests are into the state for reimbursement, so that won't affect our free cash. The question always every year is on the senior services, why there is such a surplus in that account. It's from the MART transportation. We never know what the expenses are going to be, so we try to estimate that higher so that we have enough in case there would be an enormous amount of rides or something like that. And so our surplus this year for that service is 27,000 of that 62. So a good portion, of that is from that. And then we had several resignations of staff, so we didn't have staffing for during a lot of that time. So that's pretty much the bulk of the rest. The sewer pump station project is completely done and closed. And then with the revenue, the general fund revenue, we reached 101% of our budget. So we did meet our budget, even with the COVID and things, the way they turned out. The real estate tax collection was at 97%, which is very good, especially considering we, delayed the payments were delayed by people, and they, we waived fees and that sort of thing. That turned out really well for us. On the meals tax, we exceeded our 42,000 budget by 33,000, and that was even with the reduced dining for COVID for the last quarter. So that was good news. The ambulance fund at the end of June had 416,000. And then we've got the 270 transfer at the beginning of the year. So we're starting the year in a positive 146,000 for the ambulance fund. I know that's always a question, and wanted to make sure that that was, understood. And the next three are just reminders from prior quarters that are going to stand out, and just so that you don't have to go back and refer to these reports to see, the other issues. One, the police fees, was the reconciling of the police details that Eric Baker and I spent a significant amount of time working on. The investment income from the capital projects that should have gone to the general fund. And then we closed out the skateboard park fund. At the last quarter, there was still $750 left there, and the other donor reached out to me, and they actually needed those funds returned to them. They were in a bind from COVID, so they we're so thankful for that. And they said that they would, as soon as things turned around, that they would be sending that money back for another purpose for the town. So that's really all I have. Is there any questions on anything? And if there's not, then Luann, you can take over.
Hello, everybody.
Evening.
Fourth quarter this year was a little bit challenging for our office with town hall closed. Much of the work that I was done with my board was either done through emails, phone calls, or them making appointments to come in to see me. So it made it a little bit hard to, keep in contact with my board. Luckily this year, John Brooks ran again and was appointed to the Board of Assessors. In this quarter, we managed to do another 5 commitments for motor vehicles going out, increasing more revenue coming into the town. That also brought in other people coming into the office, not into the office, but sending paperwork to the office for motor vehicle abatements. There were 7 new construction sites built in this quarter, which normally my guys are nice and they go out and do the measurements for me, but with them not being able to go out and preferring not to go out to the public, I was able to go out and measure those new constructions. Thankfully, my husband Tom came with me to help me measure up, so that was great. That brought in another $55,000 in supplemental billing to the town, which helps to create new growth on the tax roll also. Community preservation funds balanced netted out this year at a little over $193,000 for the town to spend. Exemptions that went out for people, either whether it be my seniors or my veterans, there was 196 applications this year, and we gave out over 106,000 plus exemptions on the real estate tax bills this quarter. Also with the state, I've already submitted my amended and revised reports to the town, which was a little bit over $400,000 submitted to them. So that brought back in another $6,700 in tax revenue to the town this quarter too. We were able to convert all the real estate accounts over into the billing system. And even with COVID, we managed to get our tax bills out for the preliminary tax bills by the end of June. Building permits continue to be off the charts right now. Between inspectional services and our office, we're very busy, and not having board members going out for the permits, I've been able to go out and do these. Projected new growth for this year was at $65,000. However, I'll be submitting over $160,000 to the state for approval, showing the public, not that, even though we're closed to the public, we're still going out into the public to get our work done, getting the inspections done, checking on all the new growth, all the construction, all the building permits, which, because we don't have the people in the office, we're able to get out and do that much more for the town. Big thank you to the town of Templeton residents. They're very great when we go out to their sites. We usually try to make calls to go out and visit them. They're very welcoming, very understanding. So, we just like to thank the residents in the town for being very patient through this trying time. Other than that, we just want to let the public know we can contact through our emails, our telephones. There's a great blue drop box at the front of town hall, well, at the entrance to town hall, that we're having everybody utilize and being closed. That's been a real big plus for my department and all the other departments in town. So that's about what I got this quarter. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Anybody have anything for Luann?
Just thanks for stepping up, and thanks to Tom. And I did want to mention a kudos to Kelly too, because I saw the Phillipston Town annual town meeting, and I was just so proud of her for speaking up for the truth about where the school funding comes and how it's done. And I'm just grateful for you both.
You're welcome.
All
right.
Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Of course you will.
Next up is the treasurer, Cheryl.
Yeah, hi everyone. So like everybody else, although we've been closed to the public, we're available by phone and during regular business hours, email, same thing with the Dropbox, which has been working out great. People didn't even realize it was there. They were walking by it and didn't realize that that was an option for them. And it saves them from having to run in and just drop off their slips anyway. So it's been working out pretty good, I think. During the fourth quarter, like Luann said, we extended the date. So when taxes being due May 1st went from June 1st to COVID to give everybody that extra month to try to get their money in and, you know, give them a little bit of break, give them the extra time. The property taxes went out on time for Q1 and 2. That worked out pretty good. We never knew what was going to happen with that, with all that's going on. The remaining past due property taxes usually get processed to tax title around this time. So it's been delayed because of the delay in the taxes. So with the extra month that they had, things have been put off a little bit. So I'll be getting onto that soon and trying to get that closed out so that we can close out those accounts and get them moved over. Any remaining excise tax bills from the first commitment of the year went to Deputy Collector. The initial mailing was over 8,100 and we sent $1,000 to warrant with the deputy. This quarter usually is my Cape Conference and the Collectors School. Those were both canceled. So nothing new with that, which kind of missing out on the school is not a good thing. I wish they could have found a way, maybe online or something to do it, but they canceled it and we'll have to wait till next year. Like the building going on, municipal liens requests have been risen and 161 were processed for this quarter. And that's, due to the sales and refinancing. With the rates going down, there's a lot of people refinancing. So MLCs are requested for that as well. So we've been busy typing those up. But that's been about it. We're just trying to keep up with everybody and do the best we can to do what we can to help everybody and accommodate them. And the residents have been great and everybody's been really patient and we appreciate that. But other than that, typical quarter. So if anybody has any questions.
Great job. Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, anybody have anything for Cheryl? Kelly, Luann, before they, I don't know if they're sticking around or it's such a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Cheryl, for the presentation.
Thank you.
Kelly, Luann, Cheryl, thank you so much. I know I've seen some people outside working with the public when they come to pay, they call, whatever the case may be. It's not the smoothest thing to do to be outside on a picnic table with a mask talking to somebody, but it is what it is, as somebody says. So that would conclude the quarter reports from Development Services, Community, and the Finance, Assessors, Treasurer, and Accountant. So good night if you're leaving, and we'll see you next quarter.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Good
Night,
night.
ladies. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
So the next item on the agenda, one-day liquor license for the Otter River Sportsman's Club.
So,
A note, Holly sent out an email about 5:30. Apparently, Otter River has canceled an event for Friday, August 14th for 2020.
No, it's a long meeting. Oops, sorry, Greg.
That motion for this would only be for one day for September 26, 2020.
yeah, I mean, if anybody has any questions pertaining to it, I would yield to Holly Young, who handles the licenses for the office.
So the motion is just for September 26th?
Yes.
Tim, any questions?
And this is really just a carryover about a meeting or 2 meetings ago where we went through all the special license, the extended outside stuff for the various restaurants and clubs. So this is just one of those special things.
Mr. Vice Chair, I move to approve the one-day liquor license for Otter River Sportsman's Club for Saturday, September 26th, 2020, from 3 to 9 p.m. as presented, and to waive the fees.
Second.
A motion made and seconded. Does anybody have any questions or concerns? Hearing none. On the motion, Terry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and yes. The next up is another affordable housing right of first refusal. We have started work. I believe Community Preservation Committee has started looking into getting a fund set up and a process. And until we do that, affordable housing inventory will continue to slide. And it's not always a good thing for that to happen, but circumstances being, it's what we have.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just wanted to suggest that Luann is still on there and she might have some insight into whether the board wants to do the right of first refusal or the deed waiver. She understands that a lot better than I do.
Thanks, Holly. Just an FYI, at the last couple of meetings that you've approved for the affordable housing units, I think the last 3 that you've approved have stayed in affordable housing. The price limits that they do put on it through CHAPA is staying. So they're selling these units up to the top price that they can without taking them out of affordable housing. So yeah, the last 3 that we've had have still stayed on the roll as affordable housing units. So far it's working so far.
Without the deed waiver, without the alternative deed waiver, they've stayed in affordable housing, or with the alternative deed waiver?
Well, all the affordable housing have restrictions on their deeds.
Right.
So the one that you're talking about, the new thing with the deed waiver, this is prior to any of that. This is just the ones that you approve at the meetings. And so far, just for an FYI, the last 3 that you have approved have sold at affordable housing prices. So they have managed to stay into the counts.
So what you're saying is either one, it says either one is going to be good. Do you have either one, whether we go for the motion with the alternate deed waiver or the regular right of first refusal, you're saying it'll work out either way?
Yeah, right now it's working out with our right of first refusal. Who knows what will happen down the line, but like I say, for the last 3 ones, they have stayed the same.
Thank you. I guess it's up to Tim and Jeff.
Yeah, I was aware that one had sold and stayed. I forget how I might have been looking at real estate stuff or something, but I wasn't aware of the other 2, but I was aware of one that someone had bought and for the affordable housing price.
Just a point of information, Luann keeps a good eye on these and works closely with our office, so we appreciate that.
Would it be an option to come back to us if we needed to change it, or should we just go ahead with, I like the alternate deed waiver one to be in place just in case, but would it be something that would have to come back to us if we didn't put it in place? Could we save a step? In other words, if if it didn't sell like regularly?
Well, if it doesn't sell regularly and they sell it above the market price that they're limited through Champa, then they pay us anything above and beyond that sale price. And then it has to be rolled out of affordable housing.
Right.
So I'd have to look into the other deed waiver one that you're talking about.
I understand it. We went over it. Carter went over it with us and we asked all our questions. So I understand what it entails. I'm just wondering, you know, which would be the best way to go in the long run, even though you're saying that they've been selling at the regular right of first refusal.
Yeah, affordable price.
Just based on your preference, whichever one you choose.
So Adam, there's no difference, or Luann, there's no difference in price if we have to authorize Carter or you to prepare it? We don't have to consult an attorney for the alternate deed waiver. It's something that our offices can do without extra fees.
See,
I mean,
honestly, I haven't looked into it, so I'm not sure on how that one works. I know how the Champa one works, but I'm not sure on the alternate one you're talking about.
I mean, when I first started working for the town, most of the time it was waived the right of the first refusal by the previous board, and then we did the alternate deed rider. So you could also do the other option. It's clearly up to the board and where they want to go.
Is anyone ready to make a motion?
I will. I'm going to move to authorize the town administrator to cause the preparation and execution of the alternate deed waiver for the property of Rita Cardwell located at 20 Millstone Lane.
Second, that's number 23 Millstone Lane.
Oh, I said 22.
You said 20.
Oh, I thought I said 23. Sorry. Thanks, Tim.
No problem.
That would be 23 amended.
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none on the motion. Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And yes. And thank you for the save, Luann.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
That's why you earn the big bucks.
Yeah, right.
The next item is amendment of the opt-out policy.
Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Vice
Yes.
Chairman. This was something Carter was working on with accounting. You see the memorandum from the town administrator. This is relation to eliminating the right of downsized personnel to sign up for an opt-out payment, imposing a requirement to keep proof of alternative coverage updated, and imposing a reporting requirement, and then certain minor wording changes. So I didn't work on this, but I mean, it seems pretty much where they're just trying to update the policy and make it so it's consistent and with some more requirements in there.
The one thing that I noted was it says it was originally adopted back in 2016 and it was amended in 2018, but I could not find mention of it on the town's website. Maybe an oversight, I don't know, but it was not in the policy section of the on the town website.
So you said that the original, then there was an amendment. You couldn't find the amendment on the webpage?
I couldn't find the policy period.
Oh, you couldn't find the policy period. Okay. I will have to go through and review that and just update it, put it on the web.
I mean, it might be sitting in some strange
It's a-
location, but it was not in the policy section.
Yeah, we're constantly updating and putting stuff up there. I'll just make sure I'll go through there. I'll leave a note for myself right now. Thank you.
So if everyone's clear on that, if someone wants to make a motion,
I move to approve the amendment to the opt-out policy as presented.
Second.
all right, a motion made and seconded. Is there, anybody have any more questions or concerns? I think Adam pretty covered it. It's so self-explanatory.
Holly, just Holly, did you have your hand up? Because Holly works on the webpage.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it is under the policies and under the policy and resolution page. It's a few down from the top.
I mean, we'll just double check anyways. If it's not, we'll put it up. If it's up there, then we're good. But thanks, Holly.
Yep.
There's nothing else on the motion. Terry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And yes. The next item is for another poll hearing.
Public hearing?
I'm sorry, I missed it. Setting a hearing for the engine brake issue for North Main Street. The town did impose a bylaw. It's listed in under chapter 256, article 1, engine brake. It's also covered under Mass General Law, chapter 90, subsection 7 and 16. There was an email of concern from a resident down in that area. It's the road North Main Street and Depot Road. It heads down towards Graves, Sandbank. There's a lot of trucks going down in and out of there throughout the day. Their town also has a noise bylaw, and I think it's 10 p.m. at night, where then any loud noises or stuff becomes another issue under another bylaw. But I think, Adam, you're looking to approve that hearing would happen on our next Board of Selectmen's meeting?
Yeah, Mr. LeBlanc called our office. Wanted to speak on public input on study drafted this to have in front of the board. I believe he worked with the police chief as the chair referenced the bylaw that passed at a town meeting. So this is really to get that started. He wanted the selectmen to be aware of his concerns.
Okay, and that would be for, I'm sorry, I think I misspoke, for September 9th, 2020,
Let me check.
I think in the memo.
September 9th, I'm saying, yeah. That's 6:30.
Yep.
So is this to launch an investigation, kind of? Is that what we're seeing? Order the prohibition? To request the filing of a report by the police department by September 5th. So
Yeah, this is generally something that the board does. There's a public hearing that takes place on, you have their police department provide input and everything. Like in Chicopee, for example, like we would have to have an ordinance for each area that when we put in for no engine brakes prohibited. Here, because you have the bylaw, you do a public hearing, and then people are allowed to either let us communications or to participate via Zoom or on the comments section there. This is just a standard procedure that's followed here in town.
Per the bylaw, it's town-wide, but it can be street specific or area specific. According to the bylaw, under restricted use, by the issuance of a traffic order by the Board of Selectmen after holding a municipal public hearing. And there was discussion at the annual town meeting, like some areas, like say, I don't know, Patriots Road or something, going down a hill, it might not be constant, it might just only be once in a while. But at this instance, this location, it's on its way to Grave Sandbank, and there's a lot of truck traffic there, probably 10, 12 hours a day. And that's where this issue has been raised. So having the public hearing, Board of Selectmen would vote to direct the police chief to, enforce it in that road section area of town. It wouldn't just automatically, no jake breaks everywhere. The way the bylaw is written and the way it was voted on is the reason for the setting of a public hearing. As the bylaw, as I read the bylaw.
I think, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think the public hearing is definitely warranted. The use of a jake brake is a safety device installed on the vehicle. As a CDL operator myself, I would not want to operate some of these vehicles without that installed. I understand the intent of this amendment to the bylaw, but I'm also questioning the safety.
As a CDL licensed driver myself, it's installed safety equipment. I have the same issue concern, and that could be addressed at the hearing.
Yes, sir.
So if there are no other concerns, I would entertain a motion to approve setting a public hearing for engine brake issue for September 9th, 2020 at least 6:30 p.m. or as close as we can come to that.
So moved.
Second.
Do we need to add by September 5th, 2020, the request of the filing of a report by the police department?
That would be, I think that would be good to add. That way I could let them know.
Yes, that would be a report, but all we're doing now is voting to set a public hearing date and time.
Oh, okay, you're doing two separate motions?
We're doing two separate motions. Should I amend, can I amend that motion? Can I amend it?
Did you made a combined motion, correct?
Yes. It
All right,
would
well,
be,
that will stand.
okay, so it's,
Right.
I make a as written,
Yes.
is that okay, Holly?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, yeah, as long as you got that. Yeah, there's a motion. Was there a second?
Yes, there was.
All right. All right, any further questions, concerns on that one? Hearing none on the motion for the public hearing and the report. Terry,
Yes,
Tim,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right. The last item we have is concerning the Massachusetts Municipal Association, which Templeton is a member. And the town pays $1,250 membership fee to belong to the MMA. This is an issue that was brought forward, an agenda item brought forward by Selectman Griffiths. So Terry, if you want to speak to this.
so I had noticed a post on Rutland's Facebook page, and just as I had finished reading their concern about the MMA speaking for every town and city in Massachusetts in regard to the police reform, I was on my government email and looking at the Mass Municipal report that we get every week, and so a resident texted me with concerns and not understanding. They happened to see the same post and they asked if I would bring it up. And I just kind of, it was one of those things that, are you kidding me? This is the timing of it. I said, I'm looking at it right now and I'm reading what they wrote. So I don't know if the public got to see what came in our packets, but what the resident, I guess I tried to do it in compliance with open meeting law, which, now I have a plan in place so that I do not violate that anymore. Whenever I get requests, I just take a deep breath and call Carter or Adam before I do anything, because again, I want to make sure to, keep our town in compliance. So that being said, I don't know if I should read it, but I'm asking the board, I'm submitting it to the board or to you folks to see how you feel. I wanted to come up with something unique to us, not just cut and paste. Is my audio working? It says my speaker's not working.
You mumbled a little bit. It went blah, blah, blah for a minute, but now you're back. At least on my end, you are.
How about you, Tim? Because it says my audio is not working. Please
It was
check.
a little garbled, but you recovered. That little glitch in the system.
Oh, it figures. So I don't know if you want to read what I wrote. I mean, I think that the way they went about it was in haste, and I would have at least liked something. I checked, I didn't see anything come through to ask our opinions. They didn't send a letter out to anyone, any boards, and I guess Rutland was one of the first ones to see that, because it caused issues, and our residents care about our police. I care about our police. I reached out to the chief too, and he asked if he could weigh in. And should I read what I wrote? Do you guys want me to read that, or how do you want to proceed from here? We need to start with reforming the MMA. We're in an unprecedented time in this country, and I think sweeping reform, including the MMA and how they go about speaking for the towns and cities, is warranted.
On the MMA, as far as them, that's not out of the ordinary, their approach. They have their board and members are, town managers, selectmen, etc. And they also go through, sometimes contact the like the Selectmen's Association of Town Finance Committees, the Municipal Managers Association. All of those groups And Templeton belongs to those. And again, there's fees, membership dues paid, but it's not out of the ordinary for the MMA to go forward like that. Like Chapter 90, they push for 300 million. I don't recall them ever asking Town of Templeton, do you think 300 mil is enough, or would you like to see 400? So they are kind of arbitrary about that. They say they're the voice of cities and towns, but I have yet to see 3 terms now as selectman and being on the advisory committee, and I get these updates and messages and stuff, notifications from MMA and stuff. I have yet to see them, contact each city and town. So I get what Rutland's issue is with, I think, like a lot of small towns west of 495, I believe they're happy with their police department generally. Maybe there's some tweaks or something, but there's 3 different bills out there. And MMA has chose to go with, a House and state version, even though chiefs of police and other departments, and I get their argument concern too. It's kind of like a blanket broad brush, and it may not be needed. There should be like a more individual town approach, especially when you're passing sweeping state law to mandate all kinds of things. And some towns may not want, and they should have an input in it. So, and I get your point, Terry, you're asking the board to do the same thing, to let the MMA know that in this instance, we ain't happy with you saying you speak for us when you never asked us for our opinion.
Can I read my letter?
If you wish,
I
have no problem with it.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Is it better now? Because I
Yes,
started
it was
to
just that little glitch where you were a little garbled for a second.
Okay.
or so.
So part of it, and part of the reason I also wanted to bring it up is because our residents wanted to hear how we felt as a board. I didn't want to speak for the board, and I was, asked to write this, but I also wanted my fellow board members' input, because what you think is important to me as well, and so this is just a draft, and I was hoping, we could customize it to the essence of our town. So if there's anything that you think it should include, it does have a little bit of cut and paste, but I tried to make it unique to Templeton because I am proud of us and our town and our board and our committees. So the letter reads, Dear President Calabrese, on July 16th and thereafter, through online, digital, and print publications, the Massachusetts Municipal Association, MMA, advocated publicly for both Massachusetts Senate Bill 2800 and House 4860 aimed at sweeping police reform. While this select board values the MMA, it is important to note that it purportedly acting as the voice of cities and towns in Massachusetts, this board was not consulted concerning its stance. The MMA's advocacy has created divisions and doubt throughout the Commonwealth, pitting law enforcement officials, LEO, against municipal bodies. In fact, the Massachusetts Chiefs of Police Association publicly opposed both the House and Senate bills, which seem written as a knee-jerk reaction to current civil unrest. Now, those words, knee-jerk reaction, those are my words. The Massachusetts Chief of Police Association thought it was written in haste, so they thought that it needed to slow down, that it was written in haste as a response to the situation. So I wrote knee-jerk reaction. In the report, I think that Carter wrote, he said that the police chief said that. Those were my words. I just want to make the distinction. It has caused some in the community, including Leos, to believe that municipal leadership at the local level is at odds with its own police. And that was the concern. It was even brought to our attention by concerned residents who believe in and support their local police. We would like to note the Templeton Select Board stand by and have an excellent relationship with our chief and the department. Given the outcome of this broad advocacy, we believe is vitally important going forward, the MMA slow down and take the time to listen to its cities and towns before making such broad statements. All our officers, first responders, and frontline staff here in Templeton have demonstrated and continue to demonstrate exemplary service since the onset of the pandemic, civil unrest, and virtual economic shutdown. We further wish to convey that we believe our police department and the personnel thereof operate in accord with best practices in both its enforcement of the law and personnel management. We hope the MMA work to ensure that all municipal leadership is polled prior to advocacy and look forward to participating in that process. And again, I think, let reform begin with us, with the way we do politics.
Tim, do you have any input or any concerns or agreement with this, or?
I agree with the way Terry's voiced it, when I first saw what Rutland posted, and I'm not yet receiving everything from the MMA, but I'm working on that. This one kind of, that they were speaking on behalf of us, but I knew nothing of it. So I had a few concerns myself.
There are my feelings on police reform and stuff. My issue is the basis of the Rutland letter and Terry's and the blanket statement that the Mass Municipal Association, that the town pays good money to belong to. Something as important as this is being done a little fast. And again, there should have been reach out to the communities that they say they speak for. And I have no problem. Matter of fact, I'm letting them know that if they're going to speak on our behalf and say they do, then they should contact us and get input. They may necessarily not have to, agree with what we say or what our thoughts are, but this is not scheduling a workshop or, some funding for this or that, which I still believe that they should actually get input when they say they speak for somebody. But for drastic changes like this, they should in fact send an email out. They can put out their quarterly newsletter. They've done that electronically. They're doing their workshop in January electronically for this year, virtual. They've been doing a lot of seminars. They could have actually reached out to the cities and towns and especially the small towns and got some input.
And they did put it in their latest letter that if we want to have any topics discussed at the MMA meeting, the annual, that we could send it to them. So if they can do that.
So I have no problem with the content of the letter. The MMA, they do have some purpose, but if they're going to speak for us and we're paying that, like I said, we pay them $1,250 of taxpayer money to belong to this association. And if they're going to say they speak for us on these things, well, then they should ask us what our thoughts are.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I just have, if you could just amend the letter. I'm seeing in the address, if you look at it, the one's up. I think it's a formatting thing. The one's up and it should be down onto the next line. and the address to the president of the MMA. It's just
Oh,
if
yeah.
we could just amend that letter to reflect that. And also, if the board does sign off, if you could come in and sign the letter over the weekend or so we could get this off next week, early next week.
If you get it done tonight, I'll be first thing in the morning to sign it.
Okay. Thank you.
Good catch, Adam.
So if we make a motion, we could add, include in the motion for editing for grammar, etc.
Agreed. I don't know if you want to put in anything about reforming our body politic, the way we do business with the MMA. I don't know if that's something that you want to put in.
I personally think it's fine. They should definitely get the point.
Okay, do I make the motion? Like,
Yes, you can.
okay. I make a motion to accept the letter as written with permission for corrections in grammar and punctuation and numbering as necessary.
So moved. Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second for Holly or Adam, whoever's going to take this letter, edit it for content, grammar, etc. And the board to go in and sign and send it to the MMA. Does anyone else have any issues or concerns? Holly, Adam?
We'll figure it out in the office, either Holly or myself. Usually I end up with getting the grammar work because in fact I taught for a year, so they kind of look at all the grammar.
We'll give you extra credit for that.
Yeah, so my grammar's not that good. I take it there's some grammatical errors in there, isn't there?
Just in case, Terry, just in case to cover everything.
Overall, it was a nicely done letter.
Well, I didn't want to cut and paste. I wanted it to be.
I give it a 98.
Okay.
Oh, geez. Okay. I take that and I will run with it. I will get better.
All right. On the motion concerning a letter to the MMA position of the Board of Selectmen on these House bills for police reform. Terry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That is the last item on the agenda. Board and staff comments. I'll let the board go first. Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair Jeffrey. We got a letter from Joe Dival Parker concerning Norcross Hill, and it was it got investigated, but it didn't end there for me. I had wanted to talk about the Templeton water report when it came in, and I think I made a mess in my house. I was trying to find it. So I ended up, somebody reminded me because of that situation up there, and I downloaded the swap report, and studied it and tried, and I have questions about it. It was written in 2003. I don't know. One thing I did find out, and I'm kind of choppy, I've been like, I'm really excited about this. So I need to slow down a bit. So not only did I download the swap report that was written in 2003, that's 13 pages and explains about our wells. I called the water department because I wanted to get a tour. Tomorrow I'm going to go see the sewer department. But it led me to an audio book called Troubled Water, written in May of 2019 and published in October of 2019. And it's an overview of water and the situation of water in this country. And again, we are in unprecedented times, and especially where water is concerned. In the report, it said our wells in Baldwinville, there are 3 zones around them, and they're considered high risk because zone 1 has no clay barrier to prevent seepage. So Norcross Hill, I don't have it up. I was going to get it up on my phone. That leachate goes into the Norcross Brook, and then another connecting water body that leads to the 3 pipes down into Baldwinville and down by the Otter River. My other concern that came up is in the book, wells. The wells up on that hill have, any well in Templeton, actually, there are no regulations to protect private or public. There are no regulations to protect wells. So we're thinking of doing a bulk well testing. And part of the situation is for wells that just one thing, I'm going to try not to give a whole book report, which I could. If you're downstream from a farm that uses estrogen in their cows, if you're a bass downstream, they have the study now, Ask Fish, and it's across the country, 60 to 100% of bass downstream, because estrogen doesn't break down from cows. They're intersexual. They're finding eggs on the reproductive system of bass. But that being said, the bigger problem in the country is our pharmaceuticals, there's so much to it. Our pharmaceuticals, they overprescribe pharmaceuticals so your body can absorb the right amount. The rest goes into our sewage, septage. So that's a concern because there's over 179,000 chemicals, and not a lot of them are being regulated, or our septage isn't treated. So they're finding antidepressants in fish brains and mussels. That being said, we were concerned about Casella, but that's not just a Templeton concern. It is a country concern. Orange County spent a lot of money and a lot of education to get their residents to drink treated sewer water. In another county in California didn't accept it. They called it toilet to table. But through education and a lot of money to perfect it, reverse osmosis, etc., they have the cleanest drinking water, recycled drinking water. So their citizens are drinking recycled septage, and some of it is going back into the groundwater. But the problem that hit home with me is that the nano screens that they use and the filters, all the viruses, all the bacteria, all the chemicals that come out in the, I'm going to use the word sludge, but they're putting that in the ocean. And a lot of communities throughout the country are burying it. There was a farm up in Maine that they put the biomix in, and they had to kill all their dairy cows. There are forever chemicals like PFOAs they're finding out. On a lighter note, they're trying to do companion planting to pull some of the chemicals out if they do have it in. And again, I could go on and on. I could tell you about the pipes. We're in a, want to talk about unprecedented. The pipes that were laid in the 1890s last 150 years. That brings us to today. The pipes in the 1920s, 100 years. The pipes after World War II, 75 years. So communities are going to see, tend to see a lot of issues with that. Again, if you don't have a lot of money in your water, they're saying there are too many water municipalities, and the smaller the water municipality, the less quality of the drinking water. And it's a concern that you have people up to date in those positions. Because of Flint, Michigan, what happened, they wanted a cheaper water source. So they switched over to a cheaper water source, but they didn't test the water quality, and the cheaper water source had more corrosive material, which led to the leachate of the pipes into the drinking water. So again, there's so much, it's so important going forward that we pay attention to this. And again, a funny thing happened, because when I read the swap report, I noticed there were a lot of recommendations, and I was hoping to find out the updates. And I went in and I asked Adam, and I have to find my notes, but he said, I said, do we have a stormwater drainage map? Right? And that was one of the recommendations in the swap report. He said, I'm working on that right now. And I just read it in this. I had no idea, but apparently, because one of the residents said go on the Millers River Watershed Council, the EPA issued a final small MS4 general permit to control stormwater statewide. An environmentalist filed a lawsuit, right, to protect water bodies from storm runoff. Now, you notice how Mr. Sozik switched from sand to salt. He and Lori Weeda and Carter and Adam worked on this, and I think Rich Curtis, Adam, jump in if you can, so that as of August 4th, 2020, we are in compliance. We reached compliance with the storm water drainage. So we're not going to get fined millions of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars. That being said, and again, I could go on a lot. If you have any questions about water, just ask me, because I really have a broad view now of sewage and water runoff and pipes and chemicals and municipalities. There are two websites for Templeton. There's townoftempleton.gov. That's the town website everybody wants to go on. Because when I went to look it up, if you go on townoftempletonmass.gov, Adam has worked very hard. You go down to the bottom and you can see plans and projects, and you will see our MS4 permit and all the work that went into getting that permit. The other website, templeton1.org, Holly's working on, is defunct. She's working on getting that straightened out. And the one that's coming up, the townoftempleton.gov, we can be in competition in the MMA, because they do have a competition to which town has the best website. And I think we're in the running. So if there's anybody has any questions about water, I'm really looking into it, and I hope that the water department reaches out to us, because it's not what the report, the water quality report, to me, it's not what this says. It's how much money you have and what are we not testing for. Don't know how to end. I'm just going to shut up.
Is that it, Terry? Okay, Tim, do you have anything?
Nope, that's pretty informative, and I'm going to try to get my hands on a copy of that book as well in my
It's
spare
an audio, Tim. You can
Okay.
listen to it like 5-10 times while you're driving, working in your yard. It's an audio book. It's comprehensive, and it tells you talks about bottled water too. And the goal is to get people to have safe drinking tap water, because there was over 700 billion plastic bottles getting put into trash because people don't trust their drinking water. But what they don't realize is the plastic in the bottled water and the bottled water itself is just as unsafe. And if I may say one more thing, coming at the fall town meeting, when the Farrells get up and talk about the fluoride, the problem with the chemicals in chemicals in water, not just fluoride, is the fact that you're showering in it, you're getting it in your drinking water. If you're watering your garden and you're eating lettuce, or you get a watermelon from California that they have fluoride in their drinking water and their water, and you're getting fluoride from a lot of different avenues. And there are a lot more harmful chemicals than just fluoride that are coming through.
All right, Tim, that's it?
Yeah, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay.
Mhm.
Adam, if you want to take notes. It's been a while since our last meeting, and I have a few comments on things. Some I've seen residents toss out there, like, how would the Board of Selectmen feel about this or that? The first one is the thin blue line flag. I know one community, it has been in the news. It's like an American flag. It has a blue line in it. It's in support of the police department. And the question or concern was, how does the selectman feel about, flying that? In theory, or in thought, yes, a good idea to show your support and let them fly the flag. However, in practice, then somebody's going to come along and say, well, we'd like to fly this flag on town property, or we'd like to put this poster up there. And you say, well, no. You get all these groups and people that want to fly their stuff, and as soon as you allow one to do it, you say no to somebody, and then you end up in legal trouble. It's, I think you support your different departments by actions, and such as the letter, rather than opening ourselves up to just trouble by flying a particular flag or a particular poster. I think if residents want to find them and fly them on their front lawns, that's, if residents want to show support, that's the best way to travel. The next item is concerning Scout Hall. I've been going in the office, going through the file that is together in the office. Go in and Holly will break it out for you. I was looking at some of the deed stuff because there's been talk over the years of, it was deeded to the town with this restriction or that restriction. And back in 1835, there was an item in it that if it would ever cease to be a schoolhouse, it would go back to heirs. About 1930-ish, somewhere in there, the person's heirs signed the building and the land over to the town without the restrictions, as I read the deed, as I see it. So that part of the story is false, again, according to the way I read the deed. The second item was minutes from that, the then Scout Hall Reuse Committee, January 2nd, 2019. The committee reaffirmed that TCTV, Templeton Community Television, would be a part of Scout Hall and have a place in it as determined previously. And I read that as it's been discussed at another meeting in the minutes. So that makes Scout Hall, in my opinion, it's not a building looking for a purpose, as has been put out at previous Board of Selectmen's meetings. On the school, watching the elementary school building committee meeting, which I'd been a previous member of, and this subject had came up before, as the committee has inquired and the school is thinking about if they could put up some kind of storage shed or something next to the Templeton Center Fire Station. This came up before. I went in, met with Carter, the town's attorney. I went into the assessor's office and got copies of the deeds of that area around the common. And that section of common in front of the Templeton Fire Station has a restriction as far as a certain group. I've been trying to track down if there are still any members or if that group is active. I have not found direct information in annual town reports yet. I'm still looking, but the deed seems to be clear. Also, using funds from the Article 2015 that authorized borrowing of up to $47 million for the construction of Templeton Center School. Templeton Center Fire Station is off the site. It's out of the scope of construction. So trying to use those funds to build some kind of storage shed for the school, I think you run into trouble, and I don't think it would be allowed in the end. There is also an issue with the sidewalk and the granite curb and the caulking. Being torn out and missing. There's questions whether the sidewalk like pushed up from water being underneath it. If it was, preparation, if the caulk wasn't put in correctly, or whatever that may be. There was discussion that to fix that situation, it's where the granite curb and the concrete mix, there's a seam, and they put a caulking sealant in there to keep water out. It's been estimated the cost to fix that is $20,000. And the committee wants to spend that money out of that original 47 million approved. My question and concern is, where was the building inspector when those sidewalks were being put in? Where was the owner's project manager that the town pays thousands and thousands of dollars to look out for the town? As far as the building inspector, in 2018 annual town meeting, the town voted to appropriate $50,000 for inspectional services for the school. That would have been in fiscal 19. And in fiscal 20, there was an additional $25,000 voted. There was plenty of money set aside to pay the building inspector to go up there as many times as he needed to do. Before we just throw out 20 grand to fix a problem, we should find out, one, what the problem is, what caused it, and why weren't these people who were supposed to be looking at this work and ensuring it was done properly, where were they? These are just, 20 grand, for 33,000 construction, and then however much else has been spent. That's a lot of money to spend when you need to find out why the caulking failed. It wasn't done correctly. The bed wasn't properly prepared. Is there drainage issues, et cetera, et cetera. And again, this would go from the Board of Selectmen, direct the town administrator to, get these questions answered. I also, this is a suggestion, but with all that's going on and with the state funding, we're going to have to make probably adjustments to the budget somehow. Special town meeting, we have the possibility of another district-wide meeting for a school budget. Then we will have budget preparation, tax recap stuff going on. I'm thinking that we should, and I say we, Holly, send out emails to the committees and boards. The fiscal year has ended. If we start collecting the information for the annual town report now, rather than harping on them, in January, if we could, and again, this is just a suggestion, that we could start working on that now and get some of that information collected and organized sooner rather than later. And that's all I have. So any of Holly or Adam, do you have anything you want to?
Yeah, Jeff, good job filling in tonight. As chairman, did a good job. I just wanted to put it out there. I mentioned it before we went on live. Carter would have been here tonight, but he had some internet issues, is the reason why I'm filling in this evening. But with that, I wanted to, and to Jeff's point, I have some notes here, and we do have ongoing issues that we have to work on. Now, on a positive note, though, I will say with the tropical storm last week, I'm sure you all on the Selectmen, Board of Selectmen received in your packet, but I'll read it out on a positive note. We did receive a correspondence from a resident, and the message reads, I won't say the individual's name, but once again, I must offer my sincere thanks. The tropical storm yesterday knocked down a huge bunch of branches from that same troublesome tree. I want to thank the Templeton Public Works Highway Department for coming to my rescue. Not only did the fellows clear the tree branches on town property, they were kind enough to help the branches on my property. With the household budget being tight, this is a huge help and a huge relief to me. I want to tell you how much I appreciate the help. Not only that, but there's something special about your crew. They actually seem to enjoy helping, and it is that attitude of kindness which truly, really touched my heart. I am sure you already are, but here's another reason to be proud of your crew. Thanks again. From one of the Templeton residents. So with that, Carter and I already extended our thanks to Bob Sozik and his DPW folks for the job they've done. And many of you know they have a limited crew, but they do work hard, and we're very fortunate to have a good team. So I'll just kind of end on that positive note tonight, to recognize the hard work of our town, our town employees here. Thank you.
I do have something.
Yes, Holly, go ahead.
I just wanted to discuss the annual report. So for the last couple of years, I have started sending it out in August or September. And I always suggest, get it done now while it's fresh in your memory. I send out many reminders, too many, honestly. It's their responsibility to get it in. And the ones that don't, several warnings, and they know that it's not going to be in there if they don't get it in on time. I don't know what else I can do to get them to give me their reports. So I think it's February 26th is usually about the deadline. It takes me a good 6 weeks to get that annual report put together. There's a lot of editing. And you change one thing and it moves another. So I really do need to have it by the end of February. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know Holly does work a lot on that annual town report, and I know she sends out reminders because she'll sometimes vent to me about it, and that's something where I think as long as we stay, unfortunately, some of these committees, for whatever reason, don't send it in, and that's something that is another thing that we'll have to continually work on.
Chocolate fund? If you get it in by such and such a date, you get a bag of Lindt chocolate.
Well, we can't do that.
I like that idea.
Yeah, that is something, that report is required by law that the selectmen do. So committees, boards, commissions that spend money plus the residents pay for it. There's a chunk of money put forward to produce that report. And it's explaining to them how their town was run and where their money went. So, you know,
Holly, I'm wondering if as select board, you keep reminding us and we keep reminding them, like at the end of the meeting, we just say, and don't forget, Holly needs your report, and don't forget, Holly needs your report. Every meeting we have from December to February.
Maybe, I mean, I put it in the weekly report for, you know, weeks on end. I think a lot of the ones that turn it in late or not at all think that I'm going to make an exception, but I just can't, because it's not fair to me that the ones that get it to me early or on time do that every year, and then the ones that send it in a month late when I'm already almost done editing it, I just don't feel like it's right to put those in.
Yeah.
And some don't send it at all, and it's departments too. So I just really need to get after them, I guess.
Well, with our backing too, like I said, if we could
Mhm.
mention it at our meetings, you know, that we're aware of this situation and we support you 100%, that you need to be respected and your time is valuable, you know, and people can't just take advantage of you.
Right. I mean, I know they're super busy. It's not that they're not doing it. It's just fitting it in with all their other responsibilities. So,
Yeah, but if other busy entities can do it, it's possible. Or maybe just have a conversation with them about why they don't think they can get it in on time. What's the holdup, or do they need a intern? I like to brainstorm. Maybe we could get an intern to go in and help them with that at the time crunch, you know, if it's a time crunch.
I mean, this is an accountability thing, and Holly and I will take it up.
All right, thanks.
All right, one last thing to pile on the highway department. A resident came to my house, knocked on the door, and brought an issue they were having concerning water runoff in their driveway. So I knocked on Bob Sozik's door, and 2 days later, they went up and they did some work on their driveway, a little paving work and some gravel done. And the last good rainstorm that we had, I took my dog and walked up by it, and it appears that his fix worked out. I'm gonna stop in and talk to the resident and ask them if they're satisfied with that. But again, the water, it didn't affect their driveway, the dirt part of it. So I think his fix worked. So Bob is doing good things over there, and I hope it keeps up. So with that said, member comments, staff comments out of the way, I would entertain a motion to sign off for the evening.
No executive minutes session.
None that I'm aware of, Adam.
I believe you're free to adjourn.
Make a motion.
You don't have to go into executive session. No.
Make a motion to adjourn. Make a motion to adjourn.
So moved. On a motion to adjourn, Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes. 8:37. Good night, all.
Night.
Have a
Thank
good night,
you.
everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody.